Hi, welcome to my Colossal course. This course is going to be on fundamentals in portrait painting. I'm Pluvium, and I'll be your instructor for this course. I'm primarily a freelance artist, and I do promotional content, usually with companies or game companies that wants to, push like a new product. You might have seen my art before if you're browsing the internet. I've been drawing for 15 years, and I have a pretty big portfolio by this point. Or maybe you're here because you already follow me and you want to learn exactly how I paint digitally or my workflow. So I want to spend this chapter, kind of like the intro chapter, to kind of go over a little bit about myself, a little bit about how this course is designed. So I designed this course specifically easy for new or intermediate artists to pick up. So there's quite a bit of covering fundamentals. If you already have a lot of experience, or if you're already a professional working in the industry, thank you for being here. And if you're here because you want to see how I paint stylistically, or you like my workflow, or you think you can learn something from it, I think there's still value that you can get from this course. So a little bit of background about what I do, if you haven't seen my work yet, is I focus a lot on fundamentals in the stuff that I put out. So a lot of grayscale, statues, still life, I believe. I like fundamentals personally, but I also believe that there's a lot of values to going back to, studying the techniques and studying like old masters or other artists and be more analytical in your art creation process. So you'll see a lot of that. And I do like portraits, so character art. So you'll see a lot of that. Not too many environmental, but you will see those as well. So take a look if you're interested. But I would like to show you, just three pieces to kind of show you what I do usually. And you'll see more throughout the course. I'll use them as examples to, make a point, or if it's relevant, or if we're analyzing something. So let's take a look. So this is my original character. Her name's Etona. She's an elf, long ears and really long hair. And here's some illustrations for her. This one was actually printed on a notebook. And then this one you've seen because it's on the front page of the course. So I do want to go overview on the course and how it's laid out. It's designed in chronological order, and you should follow it, start to finish. So the setup is a little bit on how I set up my software, or what kind of software I use, a little bit about brushes, and a bit about the physical setup. What tools am I using? What tools should you use, or do you use, and how would that work for this course? And chances are it will. It doesn't matter if it's, you're working from a tablet or a PC or iPad. It shouldn't matter too much. And then, so yeah, we'll go over the setups and why I place the things where I place them, where I place things where I place them, and how that helps me when I'm drawing. So that's kind of important to go over. I'll also go over a little bit about how I make brushes. I don't think it's the most important chapter, but I think a lot of you might be interested in how I create textures in my painting. I get that question a lot. How do you create these kind of painterly textures? Sometimes people think it looks a bit traditional, and really this brush is only part of the equation. I don't think it's the biggest factor even. So a little bit about this, and I will also be distributing the brushes I use so you can, follow along the rest of the course with the same tools. And it's okay if you don't use Photoshop or Clip Studio. Those are the two main tools that I think most people use. They'll cover like a greater majority. But if you use anything like Krita, that's fine too, because I do go over why not having the brushes won't really hinder you in learning what I have to offer in this course. So fundamentals, I really like this, but unfortunately, this course can't all be on fundamentals because 30 hours, 40 hours is not enough to cover all of fundamentals. So what I did was I picked out the ones that are relevant to my style and relevant to, what I think most people might need to look into more. And all the things that I refer to in the later chapters here, are a lot of them are going to point to fundamentals here. So if I refer to something you don't get, I encourage you, even if you're here or here, and I refer to something that is unclear to you, it's probably a good idea to go back and look at previous chapters that are relevant to those topics, because I try to condense this course to, it's pretty concise already for a painting and fundamental course. So that's why the fundamental course here is by no means a comprehensive overview of fundamentals. And I encourage everybody to, look up resources online, or, at the library, or if you're going to art school, there's always courses on this and resources. And it's always good to have or build a solid fundamental. And sadly, you're not going to build a very solid fundamental if my course is the only thing you rely on. But luckily, there's a lot of tutorials and online, whether online or just through people. And you should look into that a little bit if you're feeling lacking in something that maybe I haven't covered. But everything I do here for painting is going to be covered in the fundamentals here. Maybe not as detailed as you would get in some more focused drills on fundamentals, but I'll cover the topics that you need to look up. So a little bit on studying. So I think this is kind of a rare topic on a course. You might not see this as often. So I really like to go over how I study, what I think about, what I look for when studying. Is kind of a pretty big deal. If you're studying, but you're not intentionally trying to learn something specific, or you're not trying to train something that you're not good at, then your studying is not as effective. You're kind of doing rote memory, then it's not as effective as doing more analytical type thinking and studying. So I focus on this quite a bit. And with the combination of fundamentals and studying, you can really push your style, push your art in many different directions. And everything after this, actually, maybe a little bit of style too, because I do tie these two a little bit. But stuff down here is specifically for me. So specifically how I paint portraits, how I look at stylizations, and how I do brush strokes or studies. So you'll really get a lot of value here. And then this is more focused on painting like me and sharing exactly what brushes I use, what techniques I use, how I break layers down. So a little bit about stylization. So we covered fundamentals and study, but stylization, a lot of people think that it's, it's something you kind of just build into as you draw, or something once you draw more, you automatically develop it. But I like to take a more strategical method of developing a style and guiding your style to a direction that you would want ultimately, or more likely something that you would want, instead of just randomly coming up with it over time. So I think this would be interesting for a lot of you. And I guess it ties a lot into fundamentals and studying. Without those, it's hard to build stylization consciously, cognitively. So I would say it's important to go through my how I build the order of the classes. So I did spend a little bit of time in stylization to go over how I stylize my personal paintings exactly. And I don't think everybody wants to paint exactly like me. Everybody has a slightly different style. But if you combine the knowledge of these three, that's where you're able to go down your own path, kind of dial in on what you find important and use that to build your style in painting. It doesn't matter if it's portrait or environment or even animation. So, or character styles. So yeah. And then the original character painting here, I will have some exercises for you guys actually throughout the course, but this one is will have you take maybe your original character. If you don't have one, you can use mine, and then you can just paint with it. We'll take it from reference, from mood board, all the way to a finished painting. So you can really see if these made any changes to how you paint, to your workflows, and I think it will, and I hope it will. So the reason why I put this here is because for reference studies, a lot of you I think have issues with using reference, whether that be, you don't like using references or you're not good at using references in terms of like you have a reference, you can draw one to one, you can do a study, but once you try to add your own spin on it, you're trying to paint your character from a reference, that's where you get into trouble. And then the other side of the coin is you have an issue with using reference at all. So I kind of want to go over those two things and the two sides of the coin. If you have trouble with using references either way, either you can't really use it or you don't really know how to deviate from it, I do cover solutions for those and examples for how I use them. So you'll find that this part would be helpful for that. So I have this bonus section. The bonus section is a lot of it is painting process. So painting takes many hours and a lot of the hours is spent on rendering. So the issue with that is rendering after it gets to a certain point, it uses the same logic. So once you really have the fundamentals down, you get the big colors and shapes blocked in. After that, it's just zooming in more and more. I'm sure you're aware of this, and it's kind of some of you might think it's a bit more mindless, and yeah, that's true to a point. So that's why I had that as bonus, where it's mostly just to show you exactly how I lay down each individual strokes, how I get from start to finish without skipping anything at all. If you guys want to really see how each texture, each shape is built, some of you might find this useful. That's why I put that there, but I think the bulk of the stylization is done up here, not focusing on the individual strokes, but focusing on the logics of how I put strokes, how I put colors, how I determine shapes and composition. So another part of the bonus that I did cover is a specific method that I use to paint that you don't normally see these days. I think a lot of older Western digital painters use this, or matte painters, or people that work on movies. They focus a little bit more on semi and realism, semi and full realism. And they use this method quite a bit for generating ideas. And some of you might find this interesting. I use this method a little bit when I try to get out of, if I'm stuck kind of in a art block, as you would call it. I think this is a good method to get through it or to still output things even though you don't really have inspiration. It's kind of a free pass for drawing without inspiration, and you can continuously use this method. It's pretty reliable, at least to me personally, and I think you'll find this interesting. So the conclusion section is really just one chapter where I go over, my thoughts on art, how I view it, and my experiences from it, and maybe the current outlook of it. And after you go through all of these, actually mainly these four, I would talk a little bit about what you've learned, what you think you picked up, and how that would help you. So I know this course is, fundamentals and portrait painting, but I believe just because I covered a lot of studying methods and like these two studying methods and fundamentals, I still think they're the most important part, maybe a little bit of stylization. You can take that into a lot of places. You can take that throughout your entire art career. It should help you throughout your entire art career because we all come back to fundamentals. So once you have that analytical mindset, essentially you can just keep improving based on your taste. There's really not a lot that's holding you back after that point. And I know some of you might be stuck in tutorial hell. You're here because you're looking at tutorials, so you might have a lot of tutorials that you're trying to hit, a lot of guides and classes, or maybe you're in art school. The issue with that is that method of studying is very generalized. You'll be, I guess, forced to be well-rounded, but at the same time, you're trying to tackle so many things that you lose focus. You're not sure what you're looking for, and now because on time crunch, there's so much to learn, so much to do. You're not sure which direction to go. And I talk through it through all the chapters, but I do provide a little bit of a conclusion, what I think might help you in that last section. And yeah, so throughout these sections, there's a lot of practices, exercises, and I encourage you to try to do all of them. There's not too much. Some of them should only take you a few minutes. And the stuff here, there's 3 bigger exercises for the painting sections, actually, as well as I think there's one here as well. They might take you longer, a couple hours each, because they're full paintings. We're gonna take something from start to finish, so you can see what your finished product looks like. And when you apply these fundamentals and studying techniques, I believe you'll see an improvement as you go down. And I encourage you to do, studying multiple times if time allows it. And you should do studying throughout your art career. And then finally here you will have an exercise where you take your original character and then you paint it. And yeah, I'm excited to see your improvements, your outputs, and what you get from this class. So I hope you're as excited to learn as I am to give this course. It's a pretty unique opportunity. So yeah, I'll see you in future chapters. Have fun and good luck on your art journey.